Ralph Teetor. The only real creative factor is the ability to think. You don't create with your eyes. These are the words of Ralph Teetor, the Indiana-born engineer and inventor who lived a life of utter genius despite his being blinded at a young age. Long serving as the president and head of the family-run corporation that he was a part of since childhood, Teetor used his thinking abilities to develop a number of manufacturing tools, gadgets and procedures adopted by the automobile and aviation industries, including piston rings for engines and a process for balancing turbine rotors in destroyers during World War I. But possibly his most far-reaching brainchild was something called the Speedostat, a driving aid to the motorist who wishes to maintain a constant speed, as he described it, now a standard feature on most vehicles known as cruise control. The route is set. Born August 17, 1890, in the small village of Hagerstown, Indiana, close to the Ohio state line, Ralph R. Teetor. The family name would not be altered to Teetor until he was well into adulthood, lived a typical, content childhood before an accident at the age of 5 changed his life forever. While playing with a knife, he in some way thrust the blade into one of his eyes, cutting the ball badly, noted the Hagerstown exponent on March 25, 1896. In May 1896, the wounded eye worsened, and at the doctor's insistence an operation was performed in Indianapolis to remove the ball of the distressed eye. In the subsequent weeks, it seemed as if Ralph's good eye was healing properly and that his prospects of retaining normal eyesight were quite favorable. However, the Hagerstown exponent on October 7, 1896, reported that little Ralph Teetor is again threatened with total blindness. The boy suffered with an injured eye that occasionally showed signs of improvement for more than a year. But by the end of 1897, his vision continued to weaken, and by the time that he was 7 years old his sight was practically gone. Undiagnosed at the time, the exceedingly rare condition called sympathetic ophthalmia caused the injured eye to produce inflammation and ultimately blindness in the second eye. According to Marjorie Teetor Meyer's book about her father, One Man's Vision, The Life of Automotive Pioneer Ralph R. Teetor, the Teetor family adjusted to the loss of Ralph's vision with dignity and courage and developed their own unique system of coping with the harrowing chain of events. Kate and John Teetor, Ralph's parents, would not allow their son to perceive the world in self-pitying or self-defeating terms. Essentially, they lived their lives as if Ralph could see normally. The problem was never mentioned unless circumstances made it absolutely necessary. His parents inculcated in him the conviction that he could lead as normal and happy a life as anyone and achieve whatever goals he wished to pursue. His mother read to him books and stories about creative, determined types, the engineering and intelligent exploits of men such as DeWitt Clinton, Eli Whitney, Benjamin Franklin, and especially Thomas Edison. Something about these titans and their shared traits of perseverance, creativity, and innovation inspired and elevated the young boy. Ralph also had the benefit of being raised in an incredibly intellectual environment. John and his brother Charlie Teetor were avid tinkerers and started their own industrial corporation, incorporating the Railway Cycle Manufacturing Company on February 16, 1895. Ralph grew up around the sounds and smells of the factory, and he was never discouraged from learning more about the vagaries of the mechanical world or asking questions about what he heard or felt or indulging in his curiosity. Ralph progressed from learning how to use hand tools to running all the machines, lathes, milling machines, grinders, and drills at the factory, according to One Man's Vision. The uncles taught him how to plan, measure, create, and polish to make something perfect in wood or metal. By age 10, Ralph was spending ample time familiarizing himself with the machines and tools that his father installed in the workshop and shed that he built onto the rear of the house. By the time that he was age 12, he and his second cousin Dan built an automobile in his workshop, and the December 21, 1902 edition of the New York Herald extolled the whiz prodigy as an example of achievement. The November 19, 1902 issue of the Cincinnati Enquirer labeled Ralph as a story of success and described the vehicle, which was boosted by a discarded gasoline engine, in detail, including the steering device and fuel and water tanks on the machine, that were designed and constructed by himself. No reference in any of the newspaper reports was made to his blindness. To read the entire article, visit Brian D'Ambrosio's Substack.